This is Brenton Rickard, world medalist in the 100 and 200 breasts, demonstrating technique. One of the key things I look for is base position where his hands and feet are together in a straight line. It's important in breaststroke when swimming it that you get great distance per stroke. Brenton does a lot of his work on stroke count. As you look here, we don't want too much head movement, and the body really travels fastest just below the surface. As we said, we call this the base position. In the breaststroke, most of the power comes from a combination of the legs and the arms, and with the arms we're looking at more propeller type sweeping motions rather than pull push as you have in, say, butterfly, freestyle and backstroke. The feet, the movement is predominantly backwards and together. I think 10 years to 15 years ago it was sort of more around and together, but now the modern breaststroker is pushing back and together. It's very important to have great ankle flexibility and hip and knee joint mobility. When breathing in breaststroke, we want the swimmer to move with the stroke, not to have a separate head movement. He comes up with the arm stroke catching the water, his body, neck and back moves rather than his head bobbing up and down to take the breath. It is important to look forward when taking this breath without too much head nodding and interference with stroke length in front. The modern breaststroker recovers his hands close to the surface. A number of the famous breaststrokers bring their hands out of just above the surface at race speed. Now, what we're watching at the moment is a fairly easy technique, but Brenton is trying to get his hands up just in front of his chin and keep them close to the surface as he recovers them forward to the full extension. At the start of the stroke, the swimmer presses outwards, and some of the breaststrokers press a little bit upwards, but it is a wide position and then it starts to catch, and the catch position is where the head starts to come up for the breath. So the breath is a result of that beginning of the in-sweeping motion of the stroke. This shot here shows that when the kick is completing, there is an acceleration and the feet must come together. By doing this, the swimmer is exacting the most power from the kicking motion. A number of swimmers we see in breaststroke cut their kick short and do not bring their legs together. I think this causes great inefficiency. This underwater shot shows the arm stroke again, once again full extension, then an outward sweep to catch the water, and then an inward sweep, then forward for recovery. This underwater shot shows how the feet accelerate and come together, and the arc of the backward motion is quite narrow. The best breaststrokers are doing this, it appears, and getting a more of a backward and together motion rather than an outward and around together motion as they were, say, 15 to 20 years ago. This shot shows full extension at the front, and also the knees trying to keep them in line with the body rather than drop them underneath the hips. In breaststroke, predominant power, I believe, comes from the hip movement, and once we connect with the core through our arms, it is important that this is the generating power. Looking at all good breaststrokers, I feel that you need to have your hips up near the surface as in these shots showing Brenton side on. After the initial extension, the hands press outwards and catching the water at the wide position, which is outside the shoulder. At that position, the in-sweep begins, and this is the most propulsive part of the breaststroke. When the in-sweep is occurring, the head is coming up to breathe, and after the breath is taken, it is important that the swimmer recovers the hands forward, because this is a non-propulsive phase of the stroke, and it's important to get the hands back and forward to the base or frontal position. Breaststroke's one of those strokes where I feel it's easy to do the stroke poorly, but to do it correctly is extremely difficult. When teaching breaststroke or developing an athlete to compete at high levels, I think it's very important that we focus on doing the stroke well, maybe doing many drills with it rather than doing lots of it poorly. Breaststroke can be swum by many people poorly, but by very few well.